Chapter 31. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Gu Cheng had no idea that he had been targeted by a cold and beautiful lady. After separating from the Chen family's caravan, he rushed to Tsaomya village without stopping. According to the information obtained from the Soul Remnant, Gu Cheng fumbled in a dilapidated temple in the village and soon found what the Blood Lady had hidden there. It was a small package with a stack of thick books inside. Looking at this familiar scene, the young man's eyebrows suddenly raised. Could this Blood Lady also have the habit of hiding pornographic books? He picked up a book with a little trepidation, and then found to his surprise that this was exactly the target of his trip. The second volume of Blood Knife Sutra. Gu Cheng calmed down a little and turned to look at other books, but he was shocked to find that these other books were all collected by the Blood Lady. Recipes? Gu Cheng's eyes suddenly became extremely strange. Good guy, it seems that this guy really likes cooking. Are these recipes really put together with a book of evil skills that can break the ordinary realm? So being an evil cultivator is a job, and being a cook is life. When Gu Cheng returned to Changle County, it was already dusk. Pushing open the door of the courtyard, Gu Cheng looked around and found that the fallen leaves in the courtyard had been cleaned up, and his eyes moved slightly. "Oh, you're back." A soft and charming voice came. Sun Yanxue pushed open the door, with a faint mist, and hurriedly came to greet her. Her black hair hung wetly on her chest, and her cute little face was white and rosy, as if she had just taken a bath. The girl changed into a clean casual dress. Although it was a little loose, it made her figure more curvy, exuding a lazy and charming charm. "I just boiled some water. Do you want to take a hot bath?" Sun Yanxue's eyes were smiling, her tone was gentle and sweet, like a young wife welcoming her husband home. "If you need it, I can also help you wipe your back." "Thank you, no need." Gu Cheng was not moved at all, raised his eyes and glanced at the other party, and said lightly, "I just came back, and you are so impatient for me to take a bath. Are you going to steal your treasures while I take off my storage bag?" Sun Yanxue's beautiful face froze instantly, but he quickly returned to normal, laughed dryly and said, "Ha ha, how could that be? I just saw that you were tired all day and wanted to help you relax. Look at you, you are so dirty, you really need to wash, and there is this smell, demon blood." The girl was slightly startled, her nose slightly raised, sniffed at Gu Cheng like a drug-sniffing dog, and said in surprise, "You went out to kill demons again?" "Well, I met one on the way and killed it." Gu Cheng said no more, took out the demon core of the blood claw from the storage bag, and handed it to Sun Yanxue. "This was dug out from the stomach of that beast. Do you know how to use this thing?" "Demon core. It seems that you are lucky today." Sun Yanxue reached out to take it, thinking that this was a burst of Gu Shaoxia's character, and a treasure burst out from a demon in the Qi and blood realm, but after feeling the terrifying evil spirit contained in the demon core, his face changed slightly and he cried out in surprise. "This is the demon core of a wolf demon in the broken ordinary realm? You actually killed a big demon in the broken ordinary realm?" Sun Yanxue raised her head suddenly and looked at Gu Cheng as if she was looking at an unreasonable monster. When they first met, he had to rely on a breakthrough on the spot to kill a pig demon in the Qi and blood realm. How come in less than a month, he can actually kill a wolf demon in the broken ordinary realm by crossing levels? Is it because of practicing Blue Dragon 100 refining? Thinking of the famous and powerful technique, the girl's mind suddenly became clear. At the same time, she became more and more certain that this guy has been pretending to be a pig and eating the tiger. Sun Yanxue looked at Gu Cheng deeply, coughed twice, and began to patiently popularize science. The demon cores of the demons in the mortal realm are usually used as the main materials for refining various elixirs and talismans, but if you want to maximize the effect of this demon core, the simplest way is to swallow it and slowly refine it. After swallowing the demon core into the stomach, the Qi refining warriors can feel the demon's evil spirit and assist in practicing martial arts. The body refining warriors can use the demon core to replenish energy and enhance their physical foundation. As for the spiritual cultivators, they can train the strength of their own spiritual thoughts by refining the demon, which can be said to have many benefits. Sun Yanxue counted on her fingers, listing them like the back of her hand. After introducing it, he suddenly changed the subject. "Of course, I am just introducing it to you. Don't be stupid and swallow it raw." Why? Gu Cheng asked in confusion. Because it is a waste of time and there are considerable risks. Su Nianxua spread her hands helplessly and returned the demon core to Gu Cheng. As the crystallization of the demon's lifelong cultivation, how can it be so easy to refine the demon core? Unless you are gifted, have a special physique, or practice some special skills, it will take at least 10 years or even decades to refine a demon core of the same level. If it is not handled properly, greedy for merit and reckless, it may even be corroded by the demon, and go crazy on the spot, turning into a martial madman, who is neither human nor demon. Su Nianxua's tone was a little more serious, and she looked frightened. It is obvious that she has seen the horror of the martial madman with her own eyes. Well, I'll be careful. Gu Cheng nodded, but he had the opposite idea in mind. For a cheater like him, as long as the problem can be solved with time, it's not a problem. This time he killed so many wolf monsters in one fell swoop, and his remaining lifespan hit a new high. He was worried about where to spend his life. Take a look at this again. Gu Cheng put the monster core into the storage bag, and then took out the strange blood-colored jade pendant. Huh? Magical weapon. Su Nianxua looked curious, took the blood jade and looked at it carefully, and the expression on her pretty face gradually became solemn. Where did you get this jade pendant? Is it just from that wolf monster that broke the mortal realm? Yes. Gu Cheng nodded, and seeing the girl's face as if she was facing a great enemy, his curiosity was also aroused. What's wrong? Is there anything wrong with this blood jade? Su Nianxua stroked the blood jade magic weapon in her hand, hesitated for a while, and then slowly spoke. This is a secret magic weapon of the Rebirth sect, which can slightly increase the speed of practicing evil skills and also has a certain auxiliary effect on demons. As for the Rebirth sect, it was once a notorious demon sect, and its lair was located deep in the Black Wind Mountain. Fortunately, it was uprooted and completely destroyed by the Demon Suppression Division hundreds of years ago. Hearing this, Gu Cheng couldn't help but look strange. Who would have thought that before becoming the territory of demons, this Black Wind Mountain was actually the base camp of a demon sect? The feng shui of this broken place is really bad. It is said that the evil cultivators of the Rebirth sect are all crazy people who have abandoned all their bottom lines for immortality. Su Nianxua's popular science is still going on. Not only do they dig up graves and desecrate corpses, they also use the sect's evil methods to transform themselves into zombies that are neither dead nor alive. However, with this evil method, the Rebirth sect attracted many believers in those days, making the entire Yunzhou land a mess. Even today, there are still many people who are eager to follow this evil method. Why? Do these people like to be zombies so much? Gu Cheng felt sick when he heard it. Isn't this too heavy? Oh, what can't these people do to prolong their lives? Su Nianxua shook her head and said with disdain. The lifespan of ordinary people is no more than 100 years. Although warriors can live a little longer, it is also very limited. Even if you reach the innate realm and take some elixirs that can prolong your lifespan will only be more than 300 years at most. But if you don't live as a human anymore and turn yourself into a zombie, you will have a guaranteed lifespan of 1,000 years. How can those warriors who know that their lifespan is coming to an end not be tempted by it? Gu Cheng was silent. He has already Kryptoned his life for 1,000 years, so he naturally cannot understand this kind of trouble. Although the Rebirth sect has been wiped out by the Demon Suppression Division, there are still remnants hiding in the world. I came to Chang'an County on purpose this time because I got the news from my master and came to secretly investigate this matter. A hint of worry flashed across Su Nianxua's brows, and she murmured. Now it seems that the remnants of the Rebirth sect not only have signs of revival, it is even very likely that they have colluded with the demons of Black Wind Mountain. Chapter 32. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Gu Cheng remained silent after listening to Su Nianxua's analysis. He looked up at the sky that was quietly darkening, and suddenly felt a sense of urgency in his heart. He had just made a deadly feud with the two demon kings on the Black Wind Mountain. There was also a young master of the Zheng family in the government office who was eyeing him covetously. Now, a remnant of the Rebirth sect has crawled out of the coffin hundreds of years ago. Where the hell did so many things come from in this small Chang'an County? Gu Cheng secretly complained in his heart. After calming down a little, he put these messy things behind his mind for the time being. When the situation becomes more and more complicated, it is even more important to grasp the essence of the problem. No matter how many troubles there are in the outside world, working hard to improve your own strength will always be an irrefutable truth. Why think so much? Just focus on killing monsters to become stronger and Krypton life to upgrade. No matter how many demons and ghosts come, just chop them all to death with one knife. After figuring this out, Gu Cheng's thoughts suddenly became clear. He reached out to take the blood-colored jade pendant, and said lightly. Let's not talk about the rebirth sect for now, Miss Su, let's talk about more practical issues, such as, your dinner. Gu Cheng raised his eyes and looked at Miss Su, his eyes were sharp and full of oppression. What about the martial arts that you promised to give me? When can you give it to me? This. Su Nianshue's face suddenly tightened. After hesitating for a long time, she finally confessed helplessly. The martial arts secrets of the mortal realm are so precious, how can I carry them with me? However, I have mastered a soul-refining killing move of the mortal realm. If you want to learn, I can write down the cultivation method and my cultivation experience for you. Soul-refining killing move, Gu Cheng frowned, when can you give it to me? Within a month. Su Nianxue glanced at Gu Cheng cautiously. Seeing the young man's face suddenly darken, he hurriedly explained. This soul-refining killing move is a secret method passed down from my Su family. Not only is it extremely difficult to practice, but the content is equivalent to 10 volumes of wind and thunder sword art. I can write it down word for word within a month, and attach my own practice experience. It is already very difficult. Staring at the pitiful appearance of the girl, Gu Cheng pondered for a long while, then nodded slowly. Okay, I'll give you another month. However, as the interest for your delay of this month, you have to compensate me with another martial arts book of the breaking ordinary realm. Su Nianxue couldn't hold it anymore, her beautiful amber eyes widened, and she asked loudly. How can this be? I just delayed you for a month, and this one has become 2. What kind of usury are you lending? You might as well let me pay you with my own body as your wife. Are you sure? Gu Cheng looked strange, looking up and down at this young lady who had just washed herself white, like a lotus out of water. Su Nianxue put her hands on her hips and looked at this stinky man fearlessly. After her most shameful secret was known by the other party, this girl had already broken the jar and let herself go more and more in front of Gu Cheng. Really, then it seems that you don't plan to take back your baby. Gu Cheng smiled slightly, wiped the storage bag on his waist, and several beautifully bound books suddenly appeared in his hand. Su Nianshue's eyes suddenly widened, but she still pretended to be calm, bit her lips lightly, and said nothing. I remember you said before that your family lives in the north of Yunzhou City. Gu Cheng flipped the pages of the book in his hand, making a rustling sound. As a famous family, your Su family must have many brothers and sisters in the family, right? Su Nianshue's pupils shrank suddenly, as if she thought of something extremely terrifying. Although she had just taken a bath, she began to sweat coldly on her back again. Miss Su. Gu Cheng closed the book in his hand with a snap, stared at the sweaty young lady, his eyes dim. You don't want your family to know that you secretly read pornographic books, right? No. Su Nianxue was struck by lightning, her defense was broken instantly, and her face flushed red at a speed visible to the naked eye. She took a few deep breaths, causing a surge in her chest, and looked at Gu Cheng with a pair of beautiful eyes full of shame and anger, gritted her teeth and said. Okay. 2 books, 2 books. But the second one of the martial arts of breaking the ordinary realm can only be given to you after my injury is healed. Okay. Gu Cheng smiled and nodded. He was not worried that the other party would regret it after the injury was healed. After all, he didn't have a particularly urgent need for this second part of the martial arts that broke the ordinary realm. The reason for the temporary increase was nothing more than finding an excuse to give the other party a good beating. Otherwise, with Su Nianshue's unreliable and cheerful personality, if you don't give her some strength, she might come up with something else. During this period, late at night, all was silent, the moon was dark and the wind was high. After feeding the pet and finding her enough pens, ink and paper for copying the secret book, Gu Cheng came to the yard alone and sat down by the flower bed, sniffing the refreshing and elegant fragrance of the nebula flower. He opened the system panel. Remaining lifespan, 1073 years. Looking at his lifespan that broke through 4 digits for the first time, Gu Cheng couldn't help but curl up his mouth, and he felt particularly sour. When did he fight such a rich battle? Wouldn't that mean that all the martial arts on his body should be kryptonized to the extreme state of mind? Gu Cheng's eyes were burning as he scanned his personal panel. Finally, he settled on the Blue Dragon 100 refinements of the Great Perfection. To be fair, at least half of Gu Cheng's current strength is attributed to this powerful and precious technique. Even the reason why he was able to practice the Blood Sword Sutra in reverse was due to the powerful blood and chi brought by practicing Blue Dragon 100 refinements. He can be said to be the core C who led the whole team to take off. If he could break through to the extreme state of mind, what kind of powerful martial arts secrets would he awaken? Gu Cheng licked his lips and poured his life into the Blue Dragon 100 refinements with great expectation. First year, you continue to practice the Blue Dragon 100 refinements, but no matter how you try, you can't find a way to go further. Fifth year, as your understanding of this technique becomes deeper and deeper, you feel more and more that the Blue Dragon 100 refinements you practice seems to be only the first half of a complete set of techniques. With your current ability, instead of wasting your life forcefully deducing, it is better to go directly to the headquarters of the Demon Suppression Division to seek subsequent cultivation techniques. Remaining lifespan, 1068 years. That's it. Gu Cheng frowned slightly, but soon regained his composure. This result was within his expectations. The Demon Suppression Division is not a charity organization. The purpose of its special approval of Blue Dragon 100 refinements is to select martial arts geniuses from various branches, in order to make these geniuses return to their hearts and completely rely on the thigh of the Demon Suppression Division. Naturally, you have to give them a little sweetness first, and then slowly lure them with the subsequent good things. After experiencing the powerful power of Blue Dragon 100 refinements, how many people can resist the temptation of the subsequent complete techniques? However, joining the headquarters of the Demon Suppression Division, Gu Cheng gently stroked his chin, thinking in his heart, he was not very opposed to this matter. After all, the duties of the Demon Suppression Division were very consistent with his Krypton Life System, and joining a large force could indeed save a lot of trouble. And according to the middle-aged scholar, as long as he reported that he had practiced Blue Dragon 100 refining, it would be easy to be promoted to the headquarters. But the problem is, Gu Cheng's Krypton Life training speed is too exaggerated. If you directly call the headquarters to rescue him, it will inevitably attract the attention of all the big guys, adding a lot of unpredictable troubles. From the previous big purge of the Demon Suppression Division, it can be seen that the current Tianshui County is undercurrent, although Gu Cheng has no interest in playing the pig to eat the tiger. But he will not be stupid enough to expose himself to the eyes of the outside world in such a high profile when the future is uncertain. I know very little about the outside world. To be on the safe side, I should take a long-term view. Gu Cheng quickly made up his mind anyway. He is now working in the Demon Suppression Division branch. If he wants to be promoted to the headquarters, he can follow the steps and take the conventional route. First, accumulate more merits and win the appreciation of the 1,000 households, so as to obtain the qualification to participate in the selection of the headquarters. After that, pass the various assessments of the Demon Suppression Division headquarters, and it will be done. Alas, even if I travel through time, I still have to continue to take the civil service exam. Gu Cheng chuckled and shook his head. The end of this universe is indeed the establishment. Chapter 33. You are listening at novelfull.audio. There is no need to practice Tsanglong Balian for the time being. Gu Cheng pondered for a moment, then took out the second volume of Blood Sword Sutra from the storage bag. He flipped through 2 pages casually, and there were new changes on the panel immediately. Pafan, Blood Sword Sutra, Introduction. I don't know if I can continue to practice the Blood Sword Sutra in reverse after reaching the Pafan realm. Gu Cheng prayed silently in his heart for a while, then took out the blood-colored jade pendant and placed it in the palm of his hand. Then he closed his eyes and began to inject his life into this evil skill. First year, you began to practice the second volume of Blood Sword Sutra. With the experience of successfully practicing the first volume in reverse, you are full of confidence. 5th year, after years of research and attempts, your practice progress is very slow. You were shocked to find that the second volume of the Blood Sword Sutra was actually a very special body training method. Its core essence is to use the blood soldiers of the natal blood to kill people and suck blood, feed back to the practitioners, and practice the blood demon body. Your Tsunlong Balian of Qi and Blood realm can no longer meet the huge amount of blood required for body refining. Body refining technique. Gu Cheng frowned, then a look of realization appeared on his face. No wonder that night when the Blood Lady went crazy, she transformed into a huge blood-colored evil demon. I guess she used some secret method to forcibly perform the blood demon body in the second volume of Blood Sword Sutra. The first volume mainly strengthens the sword, the second volume mainly strengthens people. In this way, this evil skill focuses on all-round development. While Gu Cheng was complaining in his heart, the Krypton Life training on the panel continued. 15th year, at a loss, you had to seek off-site assistance, consuming another 10 years of life and awakening the soul of the Blood Lady. The Blood Lady's understanding of the second volume of Blood Sword Sutra is also quite limited, but since you have retrieved her beloved recipe, she is in a good mood and still spares no effort to give you advice. Year 18, the path of body refining. 30% depends on practice, 70% depends on eating. The so-called killing and blood-sucking of the Blood Sword Sutra replaces the process of eating. You and Lady Blood have devoted themselves to research for many years and have come to a conclusion, that if you want to reverse the practice of the Blood Sword Sutra, you must eat and drink a lot. Swallow various elixirs and demon cores to nourish your own blood. Is this reliable? Gu Cheng felt a little uneasy inexplicably, but thinking of his lifespan of more than 1,000 years, he still took out the demon core of the blood claw from the storage bag. As soon as he threw it into his mouth, a fishy, sour and smelly taste instantly burst out on the tip of the tongue, like a hairy egg that has been left for 3 summers. Gu Cheng was almost disgusted and vomited, and swallowed it in a hurry. The next moment, the records on the system panel began to refresh frantically. Year 19, you swallowed the demon core of Blood Claw and tried to refine it by practicing the Blood Sword Sutra. However, the strong demonic energy contained in the demon core far exceeded your expectations. You acted too hastily, and your mind was eroded by the demonic evil energy, and you fell into complete madness. Year 23, you are still going crazy. Year 49, you continue to go crazy. Year 137, time is the best medicine to heal all pains. After a long time, your mind finally returned to normal, and your own spiritual power was slightly enhanced. You learned from the previous experience and decided to seek progress in a steady manner and gradually digest the demon core in your body. Year 213, with the help of the Blood Jade instrument, you finally completely refined and analyzed the demon core of Blood Claw. You have a very deep understanding of the blood evil power of the wolf demon, and at the same time completely absorb the energy contained in the demon core, transform it into your own blood essence, and inject it into your own blood soldier. The 287th year, after absorbing the energy of the demon core and the double strengthening of the blood soldier of your life, your body has been reborn and your arms are shaking, as if there is 1,000 pounds of force. You are more and more convinced that reverse practice is the correct way to open this technique. In order to continue reverse practice, you need more demon cores, or pills that enhance blood and chi. Breaking the ordinary Blood Sword Sutra, minor success. Remaining lifespan, 781 years. Chi refining, chi and blood 9th level. Body refining, breaking the ordinary 3rd level. It was as if a ball of flame rose from the stomach and swept through the whole body in an instant. Gu Cheng moved his body and felt that his body was filled with a pure and powerful force. This force is not blood and chi, not divine thoughts, nor wind and thunder. It is the most primitive and barbaric, physical force. Due to the reverse training, my body has been strengthened twice, and the demon cores I absorbed are far more powerful than human blood. Even if the progress of the training is only a small success, the actual results are not inferior to those who have achieved great success in body training. Man. Feeling the purest power in his body, Gu Cheng was extremely sure that if he were to fight Blood Claw again now, he would not need to use his blood and chi, nor draw his sword, that with just his brute force, he could beat the beast into a pot of dog meat stew. Gu Cheng put his fingers together like knives, and the sharp sword energy gathered at his fingertips, and he slashed hard at his forearm. The sword energy that reached the extreme can easily cut through steel, but when it slashed towards the cold white skin, it was like a blunt knife cutting cowhide, leaving only a shallow white mark. Not even a drop of blood flowed out. Good defense. Gu Cheng exclaimed softly, the essence of the blood demon body, cultivated in the second volume of the Blood Sword Sutra, lies in survival and defense. With this move alone, the small fish below the broken ordinary realm can't even break his defense. However, in Gu Cheng's view, the best defense is always offense. Since both strength and defense have been significantly improved, then the next thing to improve is attack power. The power of my blood sword itself is already strong enough. The only thing missing is a sword technique that perfectly matches it. Gu Cheng glanced at the panel and finally chose iron cutting sword technique. First year, you have already mastered this elementary martial arts required of the Demon Suppression Division, but you still start practicing it again like a beginner. Year 8, after being in the fragrance of the nebula flower for a long time, you suddenly have an idea and try to integrate the blood evil power you learned from the demon core with the iron slashing sword technique. Year 128, the cold sword energy of the iron slashing sword technique, the blood manipulation secret technique of the blood soldier, and the blood evil power of the blood claw demon core. After hundreds of years of accumulation of your swordsmanship, the three finally merged into one, creating a unique and powerful magic swordsmanship. Breaking the ordinary blood shadow sword art, getting started. Breaking the ordinary sword technique. Gu Cheng sorted out the cultivation experience that kept emerging in his mind, and was overjoyed. As the saying goes, if you read 300 Tang poems, you will be able to recite them even if you can't write poems. From iron cutting sword technique to wind and thunder sword technique, Gu Cheng's experience in sword training is more than 100 years. This time, with the help of the blood claw demon core, the accumulation of experience has finally yielded gratifying results. Gu Cheng no longer hesitated and devoted his life to blood shadow sword technique. Because it is a completely self-created sword technique, Gu Cheng was very comfortable with his practice, and he achieved twice the result with half the effort. He reached the state of great perfection in just 20 years, although the difficulty of the subsequent extreme realm increased sharply, but in the endless lifespan, it was finally broken. Chapter 273. Your blood shadow sword art breaks through the limit and comprehends the ultimate meaning of martial arts. You summarize and name it, Greedy Wolf Blood Blade. Breaking the ordinary blood shadow sword art, ultimate meaning, Greedy Wolf Blood Blade. Your slash contains the evil spirit of the demon wolf. Not only can you track the target like a wolf and never stop, but you can also increase the power by absorbing blood. Remaining lifespan, 380 years. Gu Cheng slowly opened his eyes. In his dark eyes, two ferocious and weird red lights like a wolf flashed by. This sword technique is so terrifying. Gu Cheng murmured in a low voice, with only the cultivation memories in his mind. He could deeply feel the terrifying power of this mortal-breaking magic sword technique after reaching the extreme. A casual attack is as powerful as the wind and thunder sword technique with all his strength. Its secret, Greedy Wolf Blood Blade, can perfectly cooperate with the blood control secret technique of the natal blood soldier. Although Gu Cheng's current Qi training is only the 9th level of Qi and blood, he has not yet condensed the martial arts true Qi, but as long as there is enough blood to assist him, he can cut out a sky-breaking sword that far exceeds his own limit. Not to mention a small blood claw. Even if the two demon kings on the Black Wind Mountain gather here, Gu Cheng also has the confidence to kill them in half an incense stick of time. What about the remnants of the Rebirth sect? If you dare to show up, I will remove your skull and scatter your ashes. Let's see how you can fake your death. With the blood shadow sword art of the extreme artistic conception as a trump card, the sense of urgency in Gu Cheng's heart was also slightly relieved, but he still did not relax. After all, the second volume of Blood Sword Sutra has not yet reached the maximum level. In order to continue the reverse refining, I need more demon cores, or pills that enhance Qi and blood. The effect of the demon core is good, but the lifespan required for refining is too much, and there are limited ways to obtain it. Relatively speaking, the effect of the pill should be milder and more stable, right? Gu Cheng secretly calculated in his heart. Coincidentally, his younger brother Xiaoluk, seems to be quite knowledgeable about herbs and elixirs. I will go to that big guy tomorrow to ask if I can get more money from him. Chapter 34. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The next day, early in the morning, after Gu Cheng's beating last night, Sun Yanxue obviously became much more honest today. As soon as the sky was bright, she got up early and bent over the desk obediently, picked up the pen and began to write down the secret book she promised. Although Miss Su's personality was a bit unreliable, she was born in a famous family after all. The small characters written by her hand were so smooth and graceful that Gu Cheng, who came to deliver her food, was amazed. Not bad, keep working hard. This is your meal today. Gu Cheng smiled and praised twice, and gently put the mahogany food box aside. Humph. Sun Yanxue wanted to glare at this annoying man fiercely, but for some reason, when Gu Cheng stood quietly beside her, the girl actually felt an inexplicable pressure from him. It was like a majestic lion, lazily lying beside the little white rabbit. What's going on? Even if I'm seriously injured, I'm not afraid of him at the chi and blood level, right? Could it be that he has made another breakthrough in his cultivation overnight? Sun Yanxue's mind was shocked, and her right hand trembled slightly, almost splashing ink on the paper. She put down her pen and opened the lunchbox. Compared with yesterday, today's meal is more exquisite and rich, especially those bunny-shaped cakes, which are lifelike and extremely cute. Sun Yanxue's eyes lit up when she saw them, and she couldn't even bear to eat them. How is it? Doesn't it look good? Gu Cheng looked at the girl's amazing expression, and the corners of his mouth rose slightly. Yesterday I just got a few new recipes, so I tried to make a few dishes. I hope they suit your taste. I have something else to do today, so I'll leave first. You can take care of the house by yourself. After saying that, he turned and left. Sun Yanxue looked in the direction where Gu Cheng's back disappeared. On her snow-white face, there was an indescribable look. He grabbed her handle and tried to fleece her. He also fed her delicious food in various ways. This combination of carrot and stick made the girl's impression of Gu Cheng more complicated. At the same time, she became more curious about this handsome young man full of mystery. Huh, you actually want to bribe me with such delicious food? It's too naive. Sun Yanxue snorted disdainfully, picked up a little rabbit cake, took a bite, and her little face was immediately filled with a happy smile. Then she ate the cake while writing furiously. While eating non-stop, the speed of dictation became faster and faster. Gu Cheng changed into a navy blue official uniform of the Demon Suppression Division, walked out of the house and went to visit Xiaoyun, strolling on this bustling street. The young man keenly noticed that there were many more people in the martial arts world in Chang'e County, who were walking in a hurry and wearing swords. This added a bit of coldness and iron-bloodedness to this peaceful and lively small county. Gu Cheng was not surprised by this. Chang'e County has not been peaceful recently. Many wealthy families, like Mr. Chen, have spent a lot of money to hire martial arts masters from other places. It happened that the headquarters of the Demon Suppression Division had just carried out a major purge in Tianshui County. Under the influence of the subsequent aftermath, many martial arts heroes with not-so-clean backgrounds ran to small places like frightened birds to avoid the limelight. As a result, Chang'e County, a small area of 3 acres, has become more and more mixed. Xiaoyun's residence is not far from here. Gu Cheng followed the address that the other party had told him before, and arrived at the destination in about an incense stick of time. From a distance, many passers-by gathered around Xiaoyun's door. Something obviously happened. Gu Cheng frowned slightly, and a bad feeling came to his mind. He immediately performed the wind-chasing step, blending silently into the crowd, and looked towards the center. Xiaoyun's eyes were black and blue, and blood was oozing from the corners of his mouth, looking embarrassed as if he had just been beaten up by someone. However, even so, the big man still stood straight like a javelin, protecting a petite figure behind him. It was a sickly girl in aqua clothes. She looked young, at most 15 or 16 years old, but she was pretty. Her eyes were filled with tears, and she looked pitiful and helpless, which made people feel pity. If nothing unexpected happened, she should be Xiaoyun's sister who had been ill for a long time. Xiao Qing'er, the one who confronted the brother and sister, was a rich young man dressed in gorgeous clothes. He had a slick-back face and looked like a dandy who had indulged himself in sex. He was followed by a dozen famous people. The attendant Dressed in Ding's clothes looked exactly like the standard configuration of a dandy young man in a novel. Next to this young man, there stood a bald strong man, his upper body was naked, revealing muscles like granite. It looked like an iron tower, and he was half a head taller than Xiao Yun. Xiao Yun's injuries were obviously caused by him. Looking at the two parties in the confrontation, the onlookers around couldn't help but talk about it. Whose young master is this? How dare he hit someone from the Demon Suppression Division? Isn't he afraid of being raided by those wolf-like policemen? Ah. You don't know this person. He is the eldest son of the Zheng family Zheng Qian. His younger brother is a centurion in the government office. How could he be afraid of such an insignificant captain of the Demon Suppression Division? The eldest son of the Zheng family. The faces of the onlookers changed slightly. The Zheng family is like a local tyrant in Chang'an County. Even the 1,000 households of the Demon Suppression Department dare not easily provoke them. Thinking of the various bad reputations of the Zheng family's eldest son, everyone looked at the Xiao family brothers and sisters with sympathy. I say, boy, don't be ungrateful. Zheng Qian reached out to dig out his earwax, and then took out a broken jade bracelet from his pocket, shook it in front of Xiao Yun, and said coldly. Your sister broke my bracelet. You are unwilling to pay the price, and you are unwilling to let your sister come to apologize in person. What do you want? Your bracelet was not broken by me at all. Ahem. The sickly girl poked her head out from behind her brother and refuted loudly, and then she coughed violently again. No. Humph, Zheng Qian snorted coldly, looking at Xiao Qing'er's delicate and fragile appearance, with a hint of greed in his eyes. Little beauty, it seems that your memory is not very good, but it doesn't matter, brother will help you recall it now. Dong Lei. Here, that the bald man took a step forward in response. Zheng Qian pointed at Xiao Yun with a cold look. Go, take one of this kid's hands off for me. Got it. Dong Lei laughed grimly and strode forward. His heavy footsteps stepped on the ground, making a thumping sound, and his majestic body was like a brown bear in human form, full of oppression. Looking at the approaching tall and strong black shadow, Xiao Yun frowned, and his heart sank to the bottom of the valley in an instant. This bald man's cultivation was stronger than his, and he was proficient in horizontal training. His muscles were as hard as steel and difficult to be injured by swords. With his strength that had just entered the qi and blood, how could he be his opponent? The passers-by around him turned their heads away, as if they couldn't bear to see this tragic scene. In fact, anyone with a discerning eye knows which side is lying, but in the face of absolute strength, the truth of the matter is no longer important. Just when Dong Lei walked less than 10 steps away from the brother and sister. The Demon Suppression Division is investigating the case. All outsiders, please get out of the way. A thunderous roar suddenly exploded in the crowd. The people around were frightened and subconsciously moved away from this place. The crowd quickly separated like a tide, revealing a passage. Everyone present looked in the direction of the sound and was stunned. I saw a handsome young man wearing the official uniform of the Demon Suppression Division, holding the general flag token in his hand, walking through the crowd. As he walked, he shouted loudly. That bald guy over there. Yes. I'm talking about you. Gu Cheng pointed at Dong Lei with his hand, his eyes as cold as a cold star. I suspect you are secretly colluding with the demons and monsters. Come back to the government office with me immediately to be investigated. Chapter 35. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Collaborating with the devil. Oh my God, this is a really big accusation. The crowd couldn't help but look strange, thinking that this general flag master is really good at making trouble. The young man from the Zheng family used a broken jade bracelet to make trouble, and you used the dirty water of colluding with the devil to fight back. Is this give others what they have done to you? Master Gu, looking at the handsome figure approaching slowly, Xiao Yun's anxiety disappeared instantly, and his face flushed because of excessive excitement. Is he the Master Gu that my brother often talks about? Xiao Qing'er also quietly poked her head out, blinked her eyes, and looked at Gu Cheng curiously. It's just nonsense. Dong Lei's face was gloomy, and he retorted in a muffled voice. What basis do you have to say that I colluded with the devil? Do you have any evidence? Damn it. These people who are on duty only know how to frame people. Although Dong had been a bandit for several years, he was responsible for dozens of lives and even killed several pregnant women, but he had never done such a bad thing as colluding with the devil. That's right. Dong Lei is a guest invited by Meijing family, and his background is clean, Jing Qian echoed, looking at the young man with a cold look. What right do you have to slander him? Do you have evidence that he colluded with the devil? Evidence? Gu Cheng raised the corner of his mouth, revealing a disdainful smile, and asked back. Then do you have evidence that someone else broke your jade bracelet? You. Jing Qian was speechless, and his cheek was hurt by the boomerang. He took a deep breath and shouted angrily. Dong Lei. Kill this grandson for me. Understood, that the bald man had long been hated by Gu Cheng. After hearing the order, he immediately rushed up with a grin. A pair of big hands like a palm leaf fan grabbed the other party fiercely, like a brown bear hunting prey. Be careful, that the sickly girl screamed subconsciously. Don't worry, Qing'er, Lord Gu is very strong. Xiao Yun whispered to comfort his sister. He had witnessed Gu Cheng's attack twice, so he was confident in the strength of this commander. Humph. This damn bald man. Even if his horizontal training method is powerful, how can it compare to Lord Gu's knife? As long as Lord Gu cuts it down with a knife. Wait. Why didn't Lord Gu bring his sword today? The smile on Xiao Yun's face froze instantly, seeing that the iron tower-like strong man was about to rush to Gu Cheng. The latter remained indifferent. Xiao Yun's heart, which was hanging high, quickly settled down. It's okay. Isn't it just not wearing a sword? What's the big deal? Seeing Lord Gu's confident look, he must have other backup plans. As long as he uses his flexible body to distance himself from the brute first, and doesn't wrestle head-on with him. Damn it! Xiao Yun almost popped his eyes out. Gu Cheng did not dodge or evade the bald man's attack. Instead, he put his left hand behind his back and stretched his right hand forward, as if he was going to wrestle with the other party with one hand. Looking for death. Dong Lei laughed in anger. His hand, as big as a palm leaf fan, became a tiger claw and tightly grasped Gu Cheng's right hand. The muscles of his arm swelled up instantly, and the veins popped up like earthworms. He gathered all his strength in his 5 fingers and palm, trying to crush the other party's palm into a pile of meat paste. However, soon, the smile on Dong Lei's face gradually disappeared. What's going on? What on earth is his hand made of? Why doesn't it change at all no matter how hard I try? A trace of fear flashed in the bald man's eyes. He wanted to pull his hand back to get away, but he was shocked to find that his hand seemed to be clamped tightly by an iron clamp. No matter how he struggled, he couldn't break free, and couldn't even move the other person's body. Such terrifying physical strength is definitely not something that ordinary warriors can possess. The only answer is physical cultivator. He is actually a powerful person who has broken through the ordinary realm. Fuck. Are the people in the Demon Suppression Division crazy? Let a powerful person who has broken through the ordinary realm be the general flag. Dong Lei took a breath of cold air, looking at the young man's calm black eyes. His mood seemed to fall into an abyss. At this time, he was extremely sure that coming to Changle County to hide was definitely the biggest mistake he had made in his life. Unfortunately, everything was too late. Looking at your appearance, do you want to resist arrest violently? According to the laws of Yen, facing your situation, the Demon Suppression Division has the right to act at its own convenience and kill you on the spot. Gu Cheng's eyes were dim, and he said in a calm tone that colder words. Without waiting for the bald man to beg for mercy, the young man's right hand suddenly exerted force, crushing the opponent's palm bones into pieces, and then swung his right arm down violently. The overwhelming force instantly passed through the palms of the two people. To Dong Lei, like a mountain crushing an egg, boom, under the influence of that huge force, Dong Lei's iron tower-like body knelt heavily on the ground, smashing 2 large pits in the ground. His body joints were severely twisted, and it was unknown how many bones were broken. Blood slowly flowed out of his 7 orifices. Obviously, his internal organs were also severely damaged. You. Dong Lei's eyes were red, and he looked at Gu Cheng with horror. He opened his mouth, but before he could finish his words, he died completely. killing the evil cultivator of the middle level of Qi and Blood Realm, obtain lifespan, 47 years. Humph, not as good as Tang Yuan's trash. Gu Cheng snorted coldly, holding Dong Lei's body in one hand, and gently threw it away like throwing away garbage. The muscular man weighing more than 300 pounds was spinning in the air, and he smashed straight at Jing Qian like a cannonball. Jing Qian was still in a state of brain failure at this time. When he came to his senses a little, he looked up and saw Dong Lei's face with blood flowing from all 7 orifices and eyes open in death, which quickly enlarged in his vision. Ah! Bang! As the body fell on his head, the shrill cry of the eldest young master of the Jing family stopped abruptly. The dozen or so servants woke up from their dreams. First, they glanced at Gu Cheng in horror, and seeing that he had no intention of continuing to do it, they hurriedly pulled their young master out and carried him away with Dong Lei's body. The people around them also came back to their senses from the shock just now. They stared at the handsome and extraordinary general of the Demon Suppression Division with a look of shock. This guy actually killed the guest invited by the Jing family with one move in front of everyone, and also seriously injured the eldest son of the Jing family. Isn't he afraid of the Jing family's revenge afterwards? In addition, how did such a thin body burst out with amazing power comparable to that of a demon? Master Gu actually practiced the method of body training. As expected of Master Gu, he easily did what others couldn't do. Xiao Yun saw the trick at a glance. While being deeply shocked, his admiration for this commander became more and more fanatical. His sister Xiao Qinger, who was hiding behind him, was also secretly looking at the slender and upright figure like a god of war, with a strange glow in her beautiful eyes. As expected, he is someone who can convince my brother. With such a terrifying martial arts talent, he should be ranked among the top 5 in the entire Tianshui County, right? If I can ask him to help in a few years, maybe I can really kill those bastards. Reading this, a rare flash of hatred from the heart flashed in the eyes of the sickly girl. Even her originally pale face was flushed with a sickly blush. Chapter 36. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The welfare of the Demon Suppression Division branch is still very good. The government office not only provides free 3 meals a day, but also provides free housing for those talented newcomers. Xiao Yun's current residence comes from here. Although the area is not large, it is spacious enough for the Xiao brothers and sisters. So, when you took your sister to the morning market today, you were spotted by that Jing Qian by chance. Gu Cheng sat in the living room of the Xiao family, sipping hot tea while looking at Xiao Qinger, who was applying medicine to her brother. A trace of suspicion flashed in his dark eyes. This kind of playboy teasing a good family is really a bit bloody and too coincidental, combined with the feud he had with Jing Baihu before. Rather than saying that this young Master Jing was attracted by beauty, it is better to say that he had planned for a long time and came here to find trouble for his brother. Master Gu, I'm really sorry, I've caused you trouble again. Xiao Yun sat opposite Gu Cheng, bowed his head with an apologetic look on his face, and said in a deep voice. If it weren't for the 2 of us, you wouldn't have killed anyone, let alone offended the Jing family completely. No need to apologize, you work under me, so I naturally have to protect you. Gu Cheng waved his hand nonchalantly, saying lightly. And it's just the Jing family, so if I offend them, I'll offend them. I hope they'll hire more people to retaliate against me. Now, Gu Cheng's strength is no longer what it used to be. It's no longer the time when he was spotted by the young master of the pig demon and hurried to eradicate him, and didn't dare to reveal his identity. For him, if the enemy really poses a threat, then he should naturally use thundering means to nip the danger in the bud. But if he has enough self-protection power, Gu Cheng actually prefers to play the long game and lure the enemy to send people to die, so as to carry out sustainable fishing and obtain a large amount of lifespan, and until now, Gu Cheng has not figured out the system's criteria for judging evil cultivators, but one thing is certain. Those guys who actively provoke him with malicious intent are all evil cultivators without exception. Kill them all. Gu Cheng deliberately spared Jing Qian's life this time, hoping that this playboy can continue to work hard and hire more masters like Dong Lei to come and die. Let's put the Jing family's affairs aside for the time being. Gu Cheng took a sip of tea and told Xiao Yun his purpose today. I need a pill that can greatly enhance my qi and blood. Do you have any recommendations? A pill that enhances qi and blood. Xiao Yun frowned slightly. Before the big guy could answer, the sickly girl who was applying medicine to him spoke first. There are many kinds of elixirs with this kind of effect. I wonder what Lord Gu will use them for, and whether he has any special needs. Xiao Qinger's voice was clear and gentle, and her beautiful eyes stared at Gu Cheng quietly. Qinger, Xiao Yun wanted to say something, but was interrupted by his sister's hand. Gu Cheng couldn't help but look at the sickly girl again. Xiao Qinger's appearance was slightly inferior to Lin Qinyan and Sun Yanxue, and because she was still young and had been suffering from illness for a long time, her figure was too thin. She was completely out of the eyes of Gu Cheng, a queen control, however. When the word elixir was mentioned, the girl's temperament, like a delicate little flower, became strong for a rare time. She looked like an expert who was confident when talking about his professional field. Interesting. Gu Cheng's eyes moved slightly, and he became more and more curious about the origins of the brother and sister. However, he did not delve too deeply into it and directly stated his needs. I want to use it to assist in practicing a body refining technique. As for special requirements, the stronger the effect, the better, and it would be best if it could be the same as the demon core. Body refining technique. Xiao Qinger frowned slightly, thought for a while, and then blurted out. I have a secret medicine passed down from my family, called boiling blood powder, which almost completely meets your requirements. It's just that its medicinal effect is too strong and overbearing, and it is absolutely not something that ordinary people can bear. If taken in large quantities for a long time, it will not only damage the meridians in the body, but also reduce lifespan. It doesn't matter, I want this. When Gu Cheng heard that the medicinal effect was so fierce, he was overjoyed and subconsciously ignored the so-called side effects. Reduce lifespan. How much can it reduce? The last time he refined the blood claw demon core, he fell into madness, but it took hundreds of years of life to return to normal. No matter how strong the side effects of this boiling blood powder are, can it be stronger than the demon core? What medicinal materials are needed to refine it? Can you help me refine it? Of course, boiling blood powder is not a high-level elixir, and an ordinary medicine furnace is enough. That's enough. Xiao Qinya nodded slightly, took the pen, ink, paper and inkstone, and quickly listed a list. Gu Cheng took it and found that there were few herbs on it that he could understand, so he put it directly into the storage bag. The main purpose has been achieved. Gu Cheng exchanged a few words with the Xiao brothers and sisters, then stood up and said goodbye. Wait until the figure of Mr. Gu disappeared from sight. Xiao Yun slowly closed the door, turned to look at his sister, and asked with a worried face. Qinger, do you really want to refine the boiling blood powder? Is your body okay? It's okay. Xiao Qinger shook her head gently, and her pale face was full of seriousness. Brother, Mr. Gu saved your life before, and this time he even made a deadly feud with the Jing family to help us out. We two brothers and sisters have fallen here, and we have nothing else on us, so we can only repay him in this way. Hearing this, Xiao Yun remained silent. A trace of disappointment flashed across his resolute face. Gu Cheng's talent was too amazing, and his strength was advancing by leaps and bounds. Xiao Yun had previously claimed to be a genius, but now he was shocked to find that he seemed to have no qualifications to stand behind the other party and be his younger brother. Look at it, brother. Xiao Qinger looked at her brother's disappointed look, and could not help but gently pulled his sleeves, and comforted him softly. A genius like Lord Gu will definitely not be trapped in the tiny place of Changle County. His stage is the entire Tianshui County, the entire Yunzhou, and even the entire Dian. What we should do now is to do our best to help him and establish a good relationship with him before he completely takes off. This. Qinger, do you want to? Xiao Yun suddenly raised his head and stared at his sister's pale face. He had already guessed her intention. That's right. Xiao Qinger nodded solemnly and murmured. If Mr. Gu's body can fully withstand the power of the boiling blood powder, I plan to give him the relic that my father left me. Gu Cheng naturally didn't know that a certain sickly girl was ready to bet on him. holding the list of medicinal materials given by Xiao Qing'er, he went straight to the major pharmacies in the city and started to make large purchases. Chang'an County is located in a remote mountainous area, surrounded by mountains, and is rich in various kinds of herbs, including natural treasures such as nebula flowers. Gu Cheng thought that this purchase of medicinal materials would be very smooth. Who knew that after working for most of the day, until the sun set, he only bought half of the medicinal materials on the list. One reason is that there are several special medicinal materials on the list. Although the pharmacy sells them, they cannot be bought with silver. Only rare items such as monster cores are accepted for barter, but if Gu Cheng has a monster core, wouldn't it be better to swallow it directly and refine it? Why using demon cores to exchange for medicinal materials to refine boiling blood powder? Isn't this just taking off pants to fart? Second, because Gu Cheng doesn't have enough silver on him. No matter which world it is in, refining medicine is always a money-burning activity. The hundreds of taels of silver picked up from Li Tianhao before were just a drop in the bucket. A penny can make a hero fall. I have to think of a way to make money quickly. Gu Cheng stood on the corner of the street, looking at the blood-red sunset in the sky, with an inexplicable cold light flashing in his eyes, just as he was secretly thinking about whether to attack the rich and unkind Jing family tonight to rob the rich and help the poor. Two small flags of the Demon Suppression Division hurried over from a distance, stood in front of Gu Cheng, clasped their fists and saluted. General Flag Gu, the 1,000 households invite you, please follow us to report immediately. Chapter 37. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chang'an County Demon Suppression Office. In the Qianhu office, there is an ancient and elegant study room. Gu Cheng, under the guidance of the two flag bearers, pushed the door open and looked into the room. A middle-aged man in black official uniform was practicing calligraphy at the desk. The man looked to be about 40 or 50 years old, with gray hair on his temples and a particularly ordinary appearance. He held the pen in his right hand, held his breath and concentrated, writing slowly on the rice paper. Like an old turtle walking in the clouds, Gu Cheng's eyes moved down and found that the other party wrote a word, quiet. He did not make a sound to disturb him, but stood quietly in front and watched patiently. After the Qingxin Baodian was completed, Gu Cheng's mind was so sharp that he soon sensed that as the middle-aged man moved his pen, a faint and cold breath spread from the strokes he wrote and permeated every corner of the study. Although the breath was as weak as a thread, it was clearly discernible. It was as if he was holding not a brush, but a sharp sword. I guess he was not really practicing calligraphy. Instead, he was practicing some kind of advanced swordsmanship by practicing calligraphy. Seeing this scene, Gu Cheng's face was stern. He really deserves to be the highest officer of the Chang'an County Demon Suppression Division branch. Just from the tip of the iceberg he showed, the strength of this captain is definitely not that of a simple warrior who breaks the ordinary realm. No wonder the demons on the Black Wind Mountain never dared to come to the city to make trouble, but only dared to harass the surrounding villages. Even though the Demon Suppression Division has always been in a mess, it must be because there is Captain Zhao in the city, right? Gu Cheng didn't know much about Captain Zhao before. All I know is that he seldom paid attention to the affairs of the government office, and he assigned all the daily work, big or small, to several centurions under his command. Chun Chun was just a hands-off manager. This time, he suddenly changed his usual behavior and asked me to come here to report my work. What was the matter? Just as Gu Cheng was secretly speculating in his heart, Zhao Qianhu finally finished writing the word Jing. He put down his pen, looked at it carefully, looked up at the handsome young man, and asked, Gu Cheng, come here, what do you think of my writing? As he said, he picked up the calligraphy on the table and showed it to the other party. Gu Cheng looked up and took a closer look, then said solemnly, Master Qianhu has profound cultivation and outstanding swordsmanship, so his handwriting is naturally vigorous and powerful, quite extraordinary. It's a pity that your state of mind is not calm at this moment, so the word quiet lacks some charm. Zhao Qianhu was slightly startled, obviously not expecting that the other party's evaluation would be so different. Then he smiled and shook his head, crumpled the calligraphy in his hand and threw it on the ground. Gu Cheng. Oh, why didn't I notice it before? I didn't expect that in addition to the girl from the Lin family, there is actually such an interesting young man like you in this government office. The middle-aged man sat upright on the armchair, looking up and down at the handsome young man in front of him, his eyes full of appreciation and approval. Okay, stop talking nonsense. I called you here this time mainly because I have two things to tell you. The first thing. Captain Zhao stretched out his index finger, raised his mouth slightly, and said with a smile. I heard that you had a conflict with the eldest young master of the Zheng family today. And killed someone. Do you know that the old patriarch of the Zheng family specially sent someone to find me? Hearing this, Gu Cheng frowned slightly. What does it mean? Don't they plan to send people to retaliate secretly, but choose to complain directly to Captain Zhao? What's the difference between this and complaining to the teacher in elementary school when you can't beat them? Just when Gu Cheng was secretly complaining in his heart, Zhao Baihu smiled slightly, handed a wooden box on the table to the other party, and continued. He sent someone to find me specifically, and wanted to use me to convey his apology to you. He said that he had neglected to discipline his son before, and he would strictly discipline him in the future. I hope you can forgive him. And the things in this box are the apology from the old master Zheng. Gu Cheng reached out to take the wooden box, and his doubts became even greater. Apology? Is the director's script wrong? Why did the Zheng family just admit defeat? Who will hire a murderer to die if he admits defeat? Who should I ask for my lifespan? Gu Cheng was very dissatisfied, but when he opened the box, his dissatisfaction disappeared instantly. It was because the other party gave too much, this thick stack of silver bills, at least 100, all of which were in large denominations of 1,000 taels each. That's a full 100,000 taels of silver. With this huge sum of money, even if I go to Chunfeng Tower every day, even if you play with the courtesan until the iron rod is ground into a needle, you may not be able to spend all the money. It is more than enough to buy the remaining medicinal materials for the boiling blood powder. Could it be that they are scared by Dong Lei's corpse and dare not go against me, so they choose to spend money to avoid disaster? Or, the Zheng family is busy with other things and does not want to make enemies with me at this critical moment. Gu Cheng stared at the colorful banknotes in his hand, with a lot of thoughts in his mind. He did not think that the Zheng family really gave in. But no matter what, this huge sum of money solved his urgent needs. He had secretly planned to rob the Zheng family before. Now the other party directly compensated a large sum of silver, which saved him a lot of trouble. Besides, he still has a lot of remaining life. Even if no one comes to die, it is not a big deal. After thinking this through, Gu Cheng gently closed the wooden box, which was regarded as accepting the Zheng family's compensation. Seeing that the young man accepted the money, Zhao Qianhu nodded with satisfaction, held up 2 fingers, and continued. The second thing is that I found a good job for you, Gu Cheng. Have you heard about the flower thief recently? I have heard a little bit. Gu Cheng nodded slightly. I heard that the flower thief is very good at light work, committing crimes everywhere in the city every night, and the wives and daughters of several wealthy families have been killed by him. The government sent 2 centurions to investigate the matter, but nothing has been found so far. Many wealthy families spend a lot of money to hire masters from the rivers and lakes as guards to prevent the women and their families from being killed. Met an unexpected event. That's right, so the shopkeeper's song from the South City asked someone to find a connection and came to me, hoping to invite a master from the Yamen to be his guard for a few days. Captain Zhao smiled slightly, and then revealed his true intentions. Shopkeeper Song just remarried a beautiful wife 2 years ago, so he was naturally afraid that she would be targeted by a flower thief, but he didn't trust the people in the underworld, so he came to the Yamen of the Demon Suppression Division and asked you to help out. Why, me? Gu Cheng was puzzled. He didn't seem to know the shopkeeper Song before, right? Because the 2 tiger monsters you killed before indirectly helped him a lot. Captain Zhao explained slowly. Shopkeeper Song runs several pharmacies, and most of the herbs he sells are taken from Baichao Mountain. If you hadn't killed the 2 tiger monsters, allowing the herbal farmers to continue to go up the mountain to collect herbs, his business would certainly be greatly affected. Shopkeeper Song specially invited you to come this time, and also wanted to thank you by the way. So that's it. Gu Cheng nodded in understanding. Yesterday's cause, today's fruit, this drink and bite, everything is predetermined. However, compared to being a bodyguard for someone else's beautiful wife, he still hopes to be assigned to Lin Qingyan's command and go out of the city to kill monsters. Just as he was about to refuse politely, the captain spoke first. Of course, shopkeeper Song will not let you work for nothing. Captain Zhao also saw that Gu Cheng was not interested, so he continued to increase the offer. In addition to the generous reward, if you lack any medicinal materials in your practice in the future, he will definitely support you with all his strength. Just think of it as a good relationship with you, a young and talented warrior. Provide the missing medicinal materials. Gu Cheng's expression was slightly moved, as his boiling blood powder just needed a few precious herbs. If he could have a good relationship with the wealthy shopkeeper Song, he would not have to worry about the herbs anymore, right? Gu Cheng thought for a moment, and finally agreed to this matter. After Gu Cheng said goodbye and left, Zhao Qianhu retracted his gaze from the direction where the young man went away, and murmured to himself. What an interesting young man. I wonder if those absurd things he did before were intentional or just his nature. If it's the latter, well, he shouldn't be stealing with such a beautiful lady. That a hint of teasing flashed across Zhao Qianhu's face. He shook his head, took out a new piece of rice paper, and started practicing calligraphy again. However, he didn't write the word Jing this time. Between the strokes, he drew a big word green. Chapter 38. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The next day, after feeding Miss Su today's food, Gu Cheng walked out of the house and went to the famous wealthy area in the South City to visit shopkeeper Song. Shopkeeper Song was a plump old man in his 60s. Upon learning that Gu Cheng was coming, he immediately went out to welcome him into his home with an extremely warm attitude. As an outstanding businessman, shopkeeper Song was naturally versatile and eloquent. He first expressed his deep gratitude to Gu Cheng for his previous righteous act of killing 2 tiger monsters in Baichao Mountain. Then there was another round of flattery, praising the young man's strength and talent to the sky. Like the savior of Changle County, the terminator of demons, and the rising star of the Demon Suppression Division. Even though Gu Cheng had lived 2 lives, he was a little embarrassed by the old man's flattery. After a pleasant conversation, the two quickly discussed the details of this escort work, because the flower thief only appeared at night, so Gu Cheng's task was to stay in the backyard of the Song mansion for 10 days after dark. As a reward, shopkeeper Song would help collect the last few medicinal herbs and hand them over to Gu Cheng in 10 days. After discussing the business, shopkeeper Song asked the servants in the mansion to entertain Gu Cheng well, and then he said goodbye and left to do his business. This shopkeeper Song is a busy man. Gu Cheng looked at the old man's back and muttered to himself. The other party's idea was actually very easy to guess. He just wanted to find a reliable backer at this time of impending storm. Compared with those wandering knights with unknown backgrounds, shopkeeper Song obviously believed that Gu Cheng, a young talent within the system, was more trustworthy. At this time, a middle-aged man dressed as a butler hurried over. He bowed to Gu Cheng and said in a low voice, "Master Gu, the lady wants to meet you in the backyard." Hearing this, Gu Cheng frowned. What's the matter with this Mrs. Song? Her husband just left, and she asked me to meet her right after. Gu Cheng was suspicious, but considering that the other party was the one he needed to protect in the next 10 days, he followed the housekeeper to the backyard. Shopkeeper Song was rich and powerful, so the house he lived in was naturally luxurious. The backyard alone was several times larger than the small courtyard of the Gu family. Gu Cheng followed the housekeeper and walked slowly along the bluestone path in the backyard. While admiring the scenery of the backyard, he suddenly felt a strong sense of déjà vu in his heart. It was as if he had been to the backyard of the Song mansion more than once. Just when the young man was puzzled, the housekeeper had led him to the residence of Mrs. Song and pushed the door open. Gu Cheng followed closely and looked into the house. He saw a charming and beautiful woman in palace dress sitting in front of a wooden table, enjoying her morning tea leisurely with the service of 2 maids. This beautiful woman was about 30 years old, with excellent skin care and a plump figure, just like a ripe peach, as if it could squeeze out water with a light pinch. It's really an old cow eating tender grass. Gu Cheng quietly looked at Mrs. Song and complained in his heart, don't talk about husband and wife. If the old man Song, the shopkeeper, is put together with her, it is not an exaggeration to say that they are a pair of father and daughter. Butler Li, you go out first, I want to talk to this Lord Gu alone. Mrs. Song put down the teacup in her hand and said softly. Yes. The middle-aged housekeeper bowed slightly. with a very strange look, she quietly glanced at Gu Cheng, and then left the room with the two maids. Before leaving, he deliberately closed the door gently. The light in the room suddenly became dim. The atmosphere of a single man and a single woman in the same room suddenly became ambiguous and blurred. Gu Cheng turned his head to look at the closed door, and his brain was a little confused for a while. When he turned around, a soft and delicate body came up tightly like an octopus. "You are so heartless. It's been so many days, why did you come to see your sister?" Mrs. Song complained in a delicate voice, and she hit him with a ball. Gu Cheng felt the moist and soft touch, and his body trembled as if he had been electrified, and he hurriedly pushed the other party away. "Mrs. Song, you." "Mrs. Song." The beautiful woman's face changed, and her sorrow and self-mockery were evident. Last month, you still called me good sister, but now you call me Mrs. Song." Gu Cheng was struck by lightning after hearing this, and a dusty memory instantly flooded into his mind like a tide. Damn. The beautiful woman in palace dress in front of him was clearly the former and old lover of his previous life. The reason why his previous life was so fond of practicing Qigong was to facilitate him to climb over the wall and meet with these old lovers in secret. That shopkeeper Song is really a talent. In order to prevent his wife from being killed by a flower thief, he invited him, a minotaur, to be a guard. Isn't this just inviting a wolf into the house? Gu Cheng's thoughts were surging in his mind, and the expression on his face was particularly wonderful. "Forget it, you rarely come here today, sister, I won't bother with you about these." Mrs. Song looked up and down at the handsome figure of the young man with her beautiful eyes, her legs unconsciously clamped together, and a trace of eagerness like a wolf and a tiger flashed in her eyes. "Good brother, I haven't seen you for a few days, you seem to be a lot stronger. Come, let your sister help you check your body." As she said, the beautiful woman licked her lips and reached out to pull the belt around Gu Cheng's waist. But she was empty-handed. "Madam Song, I have something important to do, so I'm sorry I can't keep you company." Gu Cheng dodged, flexibly distanced himself, and bowed to the other party. Then he ignored the beautiful woman's sad expression and turned away in a hurry. "Just kidding. He likes the kind of queen with a curvy figure and a gentle and mature personality, but he has no interest in married women. His surname is not Chow. What's more, the shopkeeper Song specially invited him to be a guard and helped him solve the problem of those herbs. If he still embezzles, wouldn't he be too shameless? Oh, my reputation is really ruined. I am still a pure love warrior, and I hate minotaurs and the like the most." Gu Cheng stood in the courtyard in the backyard, sighed quietly, and strode away. Time flies, and 7 days have passed. Changle County has been relatively peaceful in recent days. Since Blood Claw was killed by Gu Cheng, the wolf demons that were rampant outside the city have disappeared. Lin Qingyan led the team to patrol outside for several days, but did not find even a single wolf hair. I don't know if those beasts were really scared. Or are they secretly accumulating strength to prepare for a big wave? And in the county, the elusive flower thief is still rampant, and a big news will be released every now and then, and it's very strange that the taste of that bitch is very picky. It seems that he only has a special liking for rich women, making the rich families in the South City nervous all day long. In addition, the gang of Jianghu people in the city are also restless, and from time to time they will fight on the streets for various strange reasons. For this reason, the Demon Suppression Division has to increase the intensity of patrols in the city. Gu Cheng's life has been unusually regular in the past few days. During the day, he led Xiao Yun to patrol the streets and find a comfortable place to take a rest. At night, he went to the backyard of the Song family to keep watch. Mrs. Song still had evil intentions and dressed herself up to be charming every night. Now it was late autumn, the weather was getting colder, but her clothes were getting thinner, as if she was deliberately showing her charm. Every time she saw Gu Cheng, there would be all kinds of hints and teasing. She never locked the door when she went to bed at night, and put on a seductive look to be picked by anyone. However, no matter how this mature beauty seduced her, Gu Cheng remained unmoved, with a calm look as if he had seen through the world and regarded beautiful women as roadside slag. This made Mrs. Song angry and anxious, and she gritted her teeth. She even took a risk and came up with a lustful and daring idea. Chapter 39. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At dusk, South City of Changle County, Song Mansion, Gu Cheng walked through the bluestone path as usual and came to the backyard of Song Mansion. He ignored Mrs. Song's burning gaze, walked straight into the next room, and gently closed the door. This is the room where Gu Cheng has been staying for the past few days. If the flower thief really attacks, he can react in the first time. The maids in the backyard have long been accustomed to the arrival of the general flag, while sweeping the dead leaves in the yard. They gathered together and talked in a low voice. "Hey! You say, this officer looks so delicate and tender, like a weak scholar. If the flower thief really comes, can he catch the thief?" "Of course. Otherwise, why would our master specially invite him? He is a master who can go up the mountain and kill 2 tiger monsters. How can you, a little girl, understand the ability of such a martial arts master?" "That's right. Okay, don't talk about him, or pay more attention to ourselves. Have you heard? The flower thief doesn't care about meat and vegetables. Even maids and servants are not spared. Moreover, all the women who have been abused by the flower thief, without exception, are dead." Hiss. Several maids couldn't help but take a breath of cold air, and their faces turned pale as paper in an instant. Just as they were about to ask for details, they saw Butlerly passing by with a stern face. They were so scared that they quickly shut up and worked seriously. Butlerly completely ignored these lazy maids and hurried to Mrs. Song's residence. "Madam. Well, are things done?" "Done." Butlerly nodded with a strange look on his face and said in a low voice. "I have arranged for the kitchen to cook wolfberry, ginseng and venison soup. In addition, according to your instructions, I added some enjoyment powder to Mr. Gu's midnight snack. Even if he is a martial arts master, he will definitely not be able to bear it after eating it." "Very good, you go down first." "Yes." Butlerly bowed slightly and turned to leave. In the huge room, only Mrs. Song was left alone. The bright candlelight, reflected on her fair and charming face, revealed a feeling of unsatisfied resentment. "You stinky brother, I don't believe that you can still hold back after tasting my secret midnight snack." Mrs. Song clenched her fists and whispered, in her eyes, "How can people change their nature so easily?" The reason why Gu Cheng has ignored her charm these days must be that he has a new lover and forgotten the old one. He must have another little vixen at home. At the same time, in the Gu family courtyard, Miss Su, who was writing furiously, sneezed inexplicably. In this case, in order to make her good brother change his mind, she can only resort to this last resort, using the help of drugs to make Gu Cheng realize his charm again. Time passed slowly. Mrs. Song estimated in her heart that the time was almost up, so she took a bath, painted her eyebrows and applied powder, and dressed herself up beautifully. She also changed into an extremely seductive pink gauze, with a red bellyband embroidered with 2 carps playing in the water, as her body swayed from side to side. The 2 carps seemed to swim in the turbulent waves, which was quite charming. In addition, Mrs. Song also put a pot of good wine on the table, sprinkled some enjoyment powder in it, and lit the incense in the room. In the smoke, the atmosphere in the room instantly became extremely ambiguous. After all the preparations were done, Mrs. Song lay on the bed, quietly waiting for her good brother, who was burning with desire because of the secret midnight snack, and was forced to run to her to relieve his heat. Somehow, tonight was particularly quiet. Mrs. Song lay alone in bed, and could even clearly hear her slightly rapid heartbeat. However, she waited and waited, but she never waited for the person she was looking forward to. Another stick of incense passed. Mrs. Song was getting impatient waiting, and couldn't help but suspect that Gu Cheng might not have had supper tonight. Just as she was about to go to the next room to find out, squeak, the window of the room was opened. "Here it comes." Mrs. Song was immediately refreshed, and she almost cried out in excitement, her chest pounding. "What a coward. I clearly left the door open for you. Why did you go through the window?" Like a thief, Mrs. Song covered her mouth and chuckled, secretly complaining in her heart. Then she stood up and lay on her side on the bed, leaving the other party with a charming back. After calming down her restless mood, she said in a sweet voice, "Stinky brother, you still remember to come here? Do you know how hard I have endured these days?" The man's breathing suddenly became disordered. Obviously, he did not expect that this graceful and beautiful woman would play such a trick. After a long while, he asked hesitantly, "Madam, have you been waiting for me?" The charming smile on Madame Song's face froze instantly. this is not the voice of a good brother at all. Who is the man? She hurriedly turned over and sat up on the bed, and took a closer look in the flickering candlelight. I saw a strange man standing in my room at this time. He was of medium build, dressed in black, with an ordinary appearance, and his face was pale without a trace of blood, as if he had indulged in excessive sexual desire. At this time, he was looking up and down at her with a greedy look full of possessiveness. Obviously, the attack speed suit she prepared for her good brother made the uninvited guest even more excited. You are the flower thief. Mrs. Song screamed in fear, and her originally rosy cheeks turned pale as paper in an instant. She had planned carefully and arranged it carefully. In the end, she did not wait for her lover, but waited for this flower thief. Mrs. Song had heard that this flower thief was cruel and ruthless. All the women who were abused by him died after being humiliated, and none of them could live to see the sun the next day. Help! Help! The flower thief is coming! Mrs. Song used all her strength and began to shout for help. Although she was empty and lonely, she didn't want to die. Madam, don't waste your energy. The flower thief picked his ears slowly and said lightly. I have set up a barrier in your room a long time ago. Even if you scream your throat out, no one will come to save you. After that, he waved his sleeves, and a rope shot out like a poisonous snake out of a hole, quickly tied up Madame Song tightly and sealed her mouth. Madam, do you have other guests today? It's a pity that he seems to have broken the appointment. Humph, he is really a sinful person to let a beauty like you stay alone in the empty room. The flower thief reluctantly withdrew his eyes from Madame Song's fiery body and turned his eyes to the pot of wine on the table. He took the wine pot and drank it. The aphrodisiac powder mixed in the wine immediately took effect, and a burning sensation spread in the lower abdomen. Ha ha ha, good wine. The flower thief laughed wildly, wiped the wine stains from the corners of his mouth, and cast his eyes on Mrs. Song again. Under the stimulation of the medicinal wine, a pair of dark eyes have been restored to the vertical pupils of a beast, emitting a terrifying light. Mrs. Song's mouth was blocked by the rope, and she could only make vague whimpers. When she saw the other person's eyes, her body instantly fell into an ice cave, and she didn't even have the strength to struggle. She never thought that this flower thief who had been wreaking havoc in the city for many days was actually a demon in human form. But it doesn't matter, since the person you are waiting for tonight broke the appointment. Let me replace him and love you well. The flower thief grinned and slowly approached the beautiful woman on the bed. Just when this restricted scene was about to be staged, bang, with a dull loud noise, the wooden door of the room was like paper, and was instantly shattered by a huge force. The defensive barrier set up by the demon also collapsed in front of this force. I say, have you ever heard such a sentence? Gu Cheng stepped over the wooden door fragments on the ground and walked slowly into the room. He looked up at the flower thief with a stern look and said in a cold voice. Minotaur must die. Chapter 40. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the spacious room, the candlelight flickered and the shadows were dim. Gu Cheng stared at the flower thief in black with a serious expression. He thought the midnight snack was too greasy and not to his liking, so he walked out of the room and went to the kitchen to prepare some light food. When passing Mrs. Song's room, Gu Cheng's mind suddenly gave an alarm and he noticed something was wrong, so he approached the room and checked it carefully, and found that the whole house was tightly blocked by an invisible barrier. He hurriedly broke into the room and just happened to come to rescue people. Mrs. Song looked at the handsome and tall figure at the door, and her eyes were filled with tears of excitement. The dissatisfaction and resentment she had accumulated towards Gu Cheng in her heart disappeared in an instant, but then she became worried again, wondering whether the other party could defeat the humanoid demon with strange means. Who are you? How dare you ruin this young master's good deeds? The flower thief asked coldly, his demon pupils flashing with scarlet evil light. But when he noticed the handsome and outstanding appearance of the visitor, on his pale face, an expression even more excited than seeing Madame Song suddenly appeared. Demon! Gu Cheng stared into the other's eyes, frowning slightly. Although both were transformed into human form, the transformation level of this flower thief was obviously much higher than that of the blood-clawed wolf demon he met before. Even at a distance of 10 steps away, Gu Cheng's mind could not sense the breath of the demon. It was obvious that some special demon method was used to isolate the outside world's divine sense perception. Interesting. If you use his demon core to strengthen the wind-chasing step, you will definitely get an excellent body movement, right? Thinking of this, Gu Cheng's eyes looking at the flower thief also became eager. The two of them stared at each other for a moment with the eyes of a hunter seeing his prey. Then, the flower thief took the lead. He stretched out his hand and pinched the magic formula. The rope that was originally wrapped around Mrs. Song loosened immediately, and then pounced on Gu Cheng like a spirit snake out of a hole. Gu Cheng did not expect that this demon could actually use magic tools, and was tied up tightly on the spot. Humph, it turns out to be just an embroidered pillow that looks good but is useless. Boy! You are unlucky. This skin of yours is determined by this young master. That the flower thief was relieved when he saw this, and his face showed a confident expression that he had taken the other party down steadily. This rope was a magic tool specially prepared for him by his sister. Even if a martial arts expert who broke through the ordinary realm was tied up tightly by it, he would never be able to struggle. Bang! The handsome young man's tiger body shook, and his body suddenly burst out. With amazing strength, in front of that extremely brutal physical force, the rope magic weapon could not bear the weight and broke into several pieces in an instant. You are not the first demon who has ideas about my body. Gu Cheng moved his body, looked at the confused flower thief, and said lightly. The last guy who said that was chopped into two by my sword and burned into ashes. Before he finished speaking, the young man stomped on the ground, his figure suddenly disappeared on the spot, and rushed towards the flower thief. His right hand was like a tiger claw, and he grabbed the opponent's neck fiercely, but he only touched a residual image. The body of the flower thief had dodged several feet away in a flash. What a fast body movement. Gu Cheng frowned slightly. With the continuous improvement of strength, the once invincible extreme realm chasing wind step is now gradually unable to keep up with the version. In that case, we must not let this demon core go. Gu Cheng's eyes were filled with murderous intent, and his hands were like knives. He silently urged the wind and thunder, and the blue lightning was instantly wrapped around his palms. Since practicing the second volume of Blood Sword Sutra, he has trained the body of a blood demon. Gu Cheng's pair of flesh palms are no less powerful than steel knives, and it is effortless to use them to perform wind and thunder sword art. Swish swish. Swish dash, the young man swung his two swords together, and instantly cut out 7 or 8 thunderous knife auras. These knife auras intertwined together, like an airtight net, blocking all the escape routes of the flower thief. Not good. The flower thief was shocked and his eyes widened, and his figure turned into a series of afterimages again, but no matter how fast he was, the limited space in the room greatly restricted his performance. After a lot of twists and turns, he was finally unable to avoid it. Puff, lightning exploded, and demon blood splashed everywhere. A sharp and unparalleled thunderbolt slashed directly into the chest of the flower thief. He was blown away on the spot and fell heavily in the backyard. This extremely strong and masculine thunderbolt power has a natural restraint on demons and evil spirits. Effect. As the lightning surged, the flower thief let out a shrill howl like a beast. The human skin on his body could no longer bear it, and it broke like rags and scattered all over the ground. The flower thief's body expanded rapidly like an inflated balloon, tearing the black clothes on his body into pieces, revealing his demonic body. This was a huge white-haired fox, at least 5 meters away from head to tail, and its body was a circle larger than a buffalo. 3 big furry tails hung behind it, accounting for most of its body length. There was a hideous knife wound on its belly. The wound was charred, and the scarlet demon blood flowed continuously. As the fox demon took off its disguise, the rolling demonic aura instantly spread from its body and filled the courtyard. At this time, perhaps it was awakened by the sound of fighting just now. Shopkeeper Song led a team of fully armed servants and rushed to the backyard. They held up torches and looked closely in the light, and happened to meet the fox demon who had revealed its true form. Monster, monster! How could there be demons in this city? Shopkeeper Song and others instantly widened their eyes and turned pale. Under the impact of the demonic aura, some timid servants even fainted on the spot. However, the fox demon ignored these bastards. It grimaced in pain from the wounds on its body, and its scarlet fox eyes were full of anger and fear. How could this be? Didn't his 2 sisters swear before that Changle County was a poor and remote place? Why did such a terrifying guy exist? At this time, Gu Cheng walked out of the messy house slowly. Under the bright moonlight, the young man's figure became more and more handsome, and his dark blue official uniform was spotless, like a handsome young man walking out of a painting, but in the eyes of the fox demon, this guy was clearly a humanoid evil demon that was more terrifying than a ghost. He howled miserably and turned around and ran away without hesitation, holding his tail between his legs. The fox demon was as fast as lightning. Even though it was seriously injured, it had already rushed 10 feet away in a blink of an eye. Gu Cheng knew that he could not catch up with it, so he stretched out his hand and lightning surged in his palm. A large iron spear thrown on the ground by the servant was instantly sucked into his palm. Before, relying on the meaning of wind and thunder, Gu Cheng could easily cos magneto by generating magnetism with electricity. With the blessing of divine thoughts, he was more adept at controlling iron tools. Gu Cheng's right hand tightly grasped the iron spear, and as his mind moved, the azure electric light entangled the spear body like a spirit snake. The 36 major orifices in his body roared like a blue dragon, inspiring surging blood and chi. The blood demon's body, which was comparable to the great accomplishment of physical training, also gathered all the strength of the body in his right hand. Gu Cheng used his divine mind to firmly lock the fleeing fox demon, and posed a standard posture for throwing a javelin. Then, in the shocked eyes of Manager Song and others, throw it hard. Whoosh! The sound of breaking through the air was like a thunderous explosion. The iron spear turned into a blue lightning, tearing through the darkness with the force of thunder, and shot at the fox demon like a sharp arrow. The fox demon sensed the fatal danger behind him, and was immediately horrified and dodged in a hurry. Unfortunately, the injuries on its body slowed its movements down a bit. Puff! The spear came with lightning and whistled, instantly piercing through the fox demon's body and piercing its heart. Then it continued to move forward, smashing a wall in the backyard of the Song mansion into pieces. The fox demon let out a shrill scream, fell heavily to the ground, and slid forward more than 10 meters under the action of inertia. The red demon blood flowed all over the ground, emitting a disgusting stench. The fox demon struggled painfully in the pool of blood for a few times, and then it was completely silent. At the same time, there was a new prompt on Gu Cheng's panel. Kill the fox demon of the initial stage of the breaking ordinary realm, and obtain lifespan, 213 years, soul afterimage, 20 years. Remaining lifespan, 640 years.